Hello, everyone. My name is Ana Martha Ayala, and I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. As a reminder, I do every video in English and Spanish, and the degree theory is based on modern Western astrology using the Placidus house system. So in today's video, I wanted to discuss the planetary energies for 2025. We have a bit of a difficult year ahead of us. So for those of you that are a little bit sensitive on information that you get, and you don't want to hear, you want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly, but you don't want to hear the ugly, then I suggest you don't watch this video. But otherwise, I think that you should be informed so that you can better manage the planetary energies that are headed our way and you can plan ahead. So we have 5 planets moving from signs, and then we also have the planetary nodes are shifting from Aries and Libra to Pisces and Virgo. So we have the nodes shifting to Pisces and Virgo on January 12th, 2025. So the eclipses are going to come at that on that axis. Uranus will shift into Gemini on July 8th of 2025. Saturn goes into Aries May 26, 2025. Jupiter goes into Cancer June 10th, 2025. Neptune goes into Aries March 31st, 2025. And Pluto would have gone into Aquarius on November 19th, 2024. And it will stay there for the next 20 years, I believe, 18, 20 years. So there are big planetary changes, and I will discuss what these changes are in an overall view. And then I will also do individual videos for each rising sign. But I wanted to share with you a file that I created, which shows you all the retrogrades as well, and what degrees that they're going to be stationing at. And when I mean that a planet stations, it's before a planet goes retrograde, it stops, right? It's moving forward, it stops, so it stations at a degree. And then it starts to move back. Well, at least that's what it appears at our, that's what it looks to us, but the planet doesn't really move back. But anyway, that's called a retrograde. So Mercury is going to retrograde on these times, in these degrees, and in these signs. So they will station, for example, March 15th of 2025, Mercury is going to station at 9 degrees Aries because it's going to retrograde, go back. And then it goes direct on April 7th of 2025 at 26 degrees of Pisces. So that is, it stops and then it goes direct, but it stops at 26 degrees of Pisces. So if you have planets on or near these degrees, pay attention because they're going to be impacted by Mercury. So July 18th, 2025, and then August 11th of 2025 in 15 degrees and 4 degrees of Leo. The third retrograde is November 9th, and then it turns direct November 29th, and the degrees are 6 of Sag and 20 of Scorpio. Venus, the planet of love and money, is going to go retrograde March 2nd, 2025 at 10 degrees of Aries. And is going to go direct on April 13th, 2025 at 24 degrees of Pisces. So again, if you have any planets near these degrees, and I'm using an orb of 3 degrees. If you want to push it a little bit, 5 degrees. Mars. Mars is the only planet that was not retrograde in April in 2024, and now it's going retrograde in 2025. So it retrogrades December 6th of 24 at 6 degrees of Leo, and it turns direct on February 24th, 2025 at 17 degrees of Cancer. Jupiter turns retrograde October 10th of 2024 at 21 degrees of Gemini, and then it turns direct on February 24th of 2025 at 11 degrees of Gemini. So if you have any planets plus or minus 3 degrees near this, Jupiter is going to give you more opportunities. You're going to get more blessings from Jupiter. So pay attention to the house that it's in. Pay attention to the planet that you have it in. And like I said, this is like an overall description of the energies that we're going to be facing, because everybody's natal chart is different. Okay, so this is a general discussion. Saturn is going to go retrograde July 13th of 2025 at 10 degrees of Aries, and is going to go direct on November 28th of 2025 at 25 degrees of Pisces. Uranus goes retrograde September 2nd, 2024 at 27 degrees of Taurus, and it goes direct at January 30th, 2025 at 23 degrees of Taurus. And in this back and forth, that's where we have the demon star Algol. So we can expect very interesting things to come. We just had one of those demonstrations not too long ago, in July. So this is going to be, and then once Uranus goes direct, it will go over Algol for the third and last time. Neptune is going to go retrograde July 4th of 2025 at 2 degrees of Aries, and then it's going to go direct on December 10th of 2025 at 29 degrees of Pisces. Pluto is going to go retrograde May 4th of 2025 at 3 degrees of Aquarius, and then it goes direct on February 14th of 2025 at 1 degree of Aquarius. So you guys now have all of the retrogrades and the stationings of all of the planets. And if you guys want to know where I get my information, hang on. This is what I use. It's an Ephemeris. You don't have to buy a book. You can get it on the internet. You just put Ephemeris, and this is how you spell it, Ephemeris. And then you put the year, and it goes by month. Cafe Astrology, I know, has one. Astro.com has one. Different sites. Just put it on Google, and it will come up, right? So you don't have to spend the money on the book, but for me, it's just easier. Anyway, so let's talk about the nodes. The nodes will go into Pisces and Virgo. So Pisces and Virgo, the North Node is on Pisces, the South Node is on Virgo. So the focus is going to be on Pisces. What does Pisces rule? Pisces rules isolated places, island countries, hospitals, prisons, drugs, both legal and illegal, the homeless or homelessness, orphanages, mental illness, meditation, intuition, yoga, empathy. It rules the oceans, petroleum, poisons, immigrants and immigration, pharmacy, photography, medicine. It rules viruses, and it also rules poor countries. Virgo rules our daily routine, which is where the South Node is, right? So it rules daily routine. It rules our diet, what we eat. We should be having a healthy lifestyle. Virgos are very detail-oriented, picky, perfectionist, and they're very critical, not only of other people, but of themselves as well. So The focus is on the North Node. We can't completely forget the South Node, but it's going to take a back seat, basically. All right, so we need to focus on the North Node. So what can that possibly mean? Making maybe prisons better, hospitals more efficient, and better health care. Drugs, both illegal and legal. Maybe they're going to legalize marijuana or come up with new medications to treat mental illness. Maybe we're going to be focusing on all of these people that are addicted to the opioid epidemic that we have now because of all the drug cartels entering through the borders, right? We have 18 million people that have entered and we don't know where they are. At least some of them. We will be addressing homelessness, address issues with our U.S. veterans. You know, a lot of veterans are homeless and they have mental illness as well because of the wars that they have fought in. So hopefully this helps our U.S. veterans, you know, with some additional benefits or something like that, of, you know, something of that nature. Maybe yoga will be introduced as part of like the PE curriculum, you know, physical education at school to improve, you know, mental and physical health. Or we will be cleaning up our oceans. Because, you know, they're ruled by Pisces and there's a lot of pollution in our oceans. Hurricanes will be a greater force because you have that Neptune conjunct, that fixed star sheet. So again, there's danger in the water. There's an increase of floods, of really bad rainstorms, of the oceans can also be poisoned. There could be an oil spill or let's see, because of Neptune going into Pisces, I mean into Aries, the temperature of the water can increase. So there might be an issue there. And also issues with immigrants and immigrations or deportation of immigrants. So there can also be a shortage of petroleum. And especially when the nodes conjunct Saturn or are close to Saturn, which will still be in Pisces, by the way, there will be a lack of petroleum. So prices will go up. Inflation will continue to go up because if you don't have petroleum, the price goes up. And anything that is shipped, the prices will increase. That's just the way it goes. Now, Uranus goes into Gemini on July 8th, 2025. Uranus brings changes to all things that are in Gemini. What does Gemini rule? It rules communications, cars, transportation, all means, bicycles, motorcycles, subways, buses, trains, the slow moving trains like the metro rails or subways type of thing. Documents, your passport, IDs, driver's license. Gemini now rules the internet. It used to be Aquarius because when the internet was new and exciting, and now that we've had it for over 20 years, well, it passed over to Gemini. Gemini rules cell phones, neighborhoods, early childhood, books, magazines, newspapers, siblings. So what happens when Uranus goes into Gemini? There can be issues with bridges, with streets, with subways, with the railways. The transportation systems might break down, or there can be cyber attacks, Uranus, that mess up the electrical system of of these railway cars, or those lines that those buses use, trolley cars, I think they're called, or there can be electricity issues in all of these systems for transportation. There can be changes with your passport, your driver's licenses, um, IDs, books, magazines, newspaper can become all fully electronic and not have. So if you guys need any books or want to have any books, buy them now. Because when Uranus goes into Gemini, I think there will be no more physical books. So that means that your neighborhood bookstore, if you still have one, it might be going out of business. Um, Maybe you need, because Gemini also rules your fingers, your hands, your arms. So maybe you need a digital fingerprint, electronic wise. Or maybe you can travel with your fingerprint instead of your passport or driver's license. They just, you know, I know some people use it to sign on to the phone already, but maybe it'll become even more, you know, a greater use. Let's put it that way. There could be changes to very early childhood education, like, little small kids, right? Um, like ages 3 to 7 type of thing, because that's Gemini. So maybe they're going to be using tablets only in preschool, where kids aren't even taught to write anymore. I mean, I found out not too long ago that they don't teach cursive writing anymore, which was shocking to me, but I can only imagine. Flying cars. There's already a prototype. So maybe when Uranus goes into Gemini, they're going to start rolling out the flying. So we've all heard about artificial intelligence. And of course, this is going to take off big time. We got Pluto in Aquarius and we got Uranus in Gemini. Computer chips can be implanted in your brain. I don't know if they can control your thoughts or not, but I know that they're going to try to use it to help people. Because, artificial intelligence can be good, very good, but it can also be used for other stuff that's not so good, for humans anyway. So maybe they will be helping people who are disabled and can't walk, to maybe, or can't speak, or any afflicted brain problems or spinal cord issues. Maybe they can address it with this. Also, electric vehicles. I have a real story to tell you that happened to one of my girlfriends. And it's a little scary the way I see it, but it's all up to interpretation. My girlfriend's husband bought her a Tesla at an auction because he has the dealer's license, right? So got it at a pretty decent price. So they used it for a little bit, and then the car was having issues. So he took it to a Tesla dealership because that's the only place that you can get the car serviced. And they told him, listen, we're so sorry, but your car is dangerous because something was wrong with it that it could explode. And the cost is going to be $11,000 to fix it. But my girlfriend's husband is super handy with everything, right? He is a Gemini. And he said, oh, no, let me have the car back. I'll fix it myself. And the representatives told him, oh, yeah, you can have your car back, but you need to call a tow truck because you cannot drive it back. What do you mean? Yes, we're going to disable the car because it is a threat to, the population. It can blow up and we can't let you drive the car. So he had to end up paying $11,000 to repair the car. And he did. And then shortly after he sold it. And they were both very shocked as to the way that basically Tesla was just going to shut the car down. They have the technology to do that. They can, you think it's your car? Think again. They they can just shut you down. So anyway, that was the end of the Tesla driving experience for my girlfriend and her husband because no more Teslas for them. They got a Toyota Prius. Go figure. Anyway, another thing that can be revamped or reinvented would be the internet because it's ruled by Gemini, or it can be taken away. All of a sudden, the internet can go down, and then what do we do, right? Or maybe you need to have some kind of electronic profile to be on the internet, and you got to put your fingerprint on it, type of thing. Um, there are cycles, and this is the part that it gets a little touchy here, so stay with me. But there could be the start of a war because the U.S. cycles are of World War II, where the U.S. goes into war. There will be a civil war, which I will discuss a little bit later in the video. But it's a real possibility. You know, you can go and review history as to the things that happened during World War II, during World War One, and just get familiarized with the kind of things that you need to have to save money, store food, um, have another place that you can go to, your parents' house, your friend's house, whoever, in case where you live gets compromised. All right. So Neptune is entering Aries. Now, Neptune is in each sign for about 14 years, give or take. It takes 165 years to complete the whole zodiac. So it will go into Aries on May 26th of 2025. Now, Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. So all those things that I mentioned that Pisces rules are now going to be subjected to Aries, a fire sign. Neptune rules poisons. So because the oceans are going to be hotter, because it's going to be in a fire sign, it's going to be in Aries, it may cause some of the sea animals to get sick or to die. Fish. The coral reef here in Florida is already like it's faded. You know, it's been oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for? It's too hot, so they're dying off, but they've been able to kind of revive it a little bit. But animals like whales, dolphins can get sick and beach themselves. Um, Fish. So crabs, shrimp, anything that you eat that comes from the sea, you need to be careful. The icebergs can melt quicker because the temperature of the oceans are going to be hotter. And mind you, this is over 14 years. So it's not that Neptune goes into Aries day one and bam, everything happens. No, that's not the case. But Neptune rules viruses and Aries rules bacteria. So there can be diseases that come through the fish, the crabs, the shrimps that you eat, anything that you eat from the ocean. So be careful with a bacterial infection or virus. So we'll see what happens as it ingresses. Neptune, the last time Neptune was in Aries, it was the start of the Civil War in 1861 in the US. It can also mean that we will have a religious war. Neptune rules religion, Aries rules war, and we already have one going on in case, you didn't know. Or there could be a new religion which can be born because Neptune is religion and Aries initiates things. So maybe a new religion will come into play. So the next planet that I wanted to talk to you about is Jupiter in Cancer, which is exalted in Cancer. Jupiter goes into Cancer on June 10th of 2025. So this is very positive energy. The focus is on family, growing family, perhaps having more people come and live at your house. Cancer rules the United States, and Mars will retrograde on December 6th, 2024 through February 23rd, 2025. The shadow period starts October 4th of 2024 and it ends May 2nd of 2025. So the elections for the United States are going to be very interesting and very contentious, so we'll see. It's right smack. I mean, it couldn't have happened at a worse place or a worse time. Anyway, Mars in Cancer means fighting or family. Because Mars is the warrior energy, so you're going to be protecting your family. You're going to be protecting your children, your parents, your physical home. Cancer is the natural ruler of the fourth house, and so it also represents your natal country. So, according to Nicola, a civil war happens when Mars is in square conjunction opposition with the moon of the country. So there can be an attack on the U.S. soil. Imagine Pearl Harbor. I'm not saying that Hawaii is going to get bombed. I'm not saying that, but the attacks can come from within. I think because of all the military-aged men that have gone in, that have crossed the borders of the United States and nobody knows where they are, there could be, guerrilla warfare or just the Japanese, it was called kamikazes, but I forget what they're called now. But anyway, suicide, like suicide bombers and stuff like that. So where can the attacks take place? It could be the electricity grid, Uranus, transportation places, Gemini, buses, subways, nuclear facilities also. Uranus. So Jupiter in Cancer may mean also that real estate prices can go up for a little while. All right. So those of you that want to sell your home, that would be a great time to try and sell. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So that's why I'm saying that the prices may go up. However, later on they will go down because when the nodes switch, they're going into Pisces and Virgo now, and then they'll go into Aquarius and Leo 18 months later, but then they'll go into Capricorn, the north node, and then Cancer as the south node. South node means losses. Cancer means home. So there will be losses of houses. So pretty much the same thing that happened in 2008 with the real estate market. I can imagine something like that happening again. Like I said, maybe having more people move together, like the three generations, right? The kids, the parents, and the grandparents all at home, living together, three generations, as it was before when people couldn't afford to live on their own. So that's something new for this generation that they haven't had to do that. So it will be interesting. Saturn will go into Aries. So Saturn is the planet of restrictions, of delays, obstacles, disciplines, and it goes into Aries, the sign of initiation, bravery, building things, always being in a hurry. So it's a combination of Aries is go, 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 and Saturn says stop. No, not yet. You got to wait. So this push-pull energy. Now, Saturn is the taskmaster, so there are lessons to be learned, but it's also a great teacher. It is called the great teacher, and it also rules fears. This is why you need to learn your dignity table because Saturn is at a fall in Aries because Saturn is exalted in Libra. So the energy of Saturn here is not going to be all that, all that bad. I'm thinking because of the rulership and the exaltations and stuff like that, the energy here of Saturn is not. The last time that Saturn um was in Aries, you have to go back. Excuse me, when Neptune was in Aries, you have to go back to US history. It was 1861, which was the beginning of the Civil War in the United States. And this coincides with the ingress of Uranus into Gemini, which is going to happen in 2027, 2028. So I'm thinking that 2025 will be the beginning of 4 or 5 years that are going to be difficult for us. I found because the issue is that Saturn is going to conjunct Neptune. And when that happened, we had historically that Saturn Neptune conjunction is not good news. Let me see where the here. So when you have Saturn conjunct, I found this website, cyclesofhistory.com, and it talks about the Saturn Neptune conjunctions, and it gives you a list because I don't want this video just to be about the United States because people all over the world see this channel. So in 1846, Karl Marx, and Engels published the Communist Manifesto. In 1862, the serfs in Russia and the slaves in America were emancipated. In 1882, the industrial, actually, I think it's the Industrial Revolution in Russia. And in UK, the Fabian Democratic Socialism. In 1899, Russian Social Democratic and Revolutionary parties are established. In 1917, which was the start of the First World War I, you have the Russian Revolution overthrows the Tsar, and then Lenin starts ruling, and then Stalin rises in power. So in 1936, this is the opposition of the conjunction. So Stalin purges and shows trials, and then you have the Chinese Communist Long March. 1953, 53, Stalin's death after 29 years of ruling, and then the Czech Republic and Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic, and East Germans revolt. 1971, the SALT nuclear arms agreement, and the Detente relaxes the Cold War. 1988, the fall of the Berlin Wall and Russian communism and the Soviet Union. That's when the Soviet Union collapsed. And also here in the United States in 1989, there was a prohibition of smoking in public areas. I remember that one. So the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune doesn't, it brings significant changes to, to the world. It all depends on where it impacts the most. And obviously, all of these conjunctions and oppositions and stuff like that happened in different signs. So that's also important. So let me stop sharing. Here we go. So I had to do some rearrangements here because I know if you guys can hear, but there's a really bad storm happening here as I film this. So it's going to prove interesting. And my doggies are right here with me because it's getting really scary. So we'll see how long I can continue to film. But anyway, the last thing I wanted to discuss is Pluto in Aquarius, and it's going to stay in Aquarius. And I hope that you Aquarians have a better time than when Pluto was in Capricorn, because I'm a Capricorn sun. And that was one of the hardest transits I had in my life. But anyway, I survived, so you can do it too. So Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth and transformation. Aquarius rules the population of a country. or the world actually. So this sets the foundation for a revolution, for protests, for change, for transformation. Historically, when Pluto was in Aquarius from 1778 to 1798, which is a 20-year period, events like the French Revolution, the Irish Uprising, the American Revolution happened. Now, you can go ahead and research what happened in your country between 1778 and 1798. So you can get an idea pretty much of what's going to be happening in your area. Now, Pluto can transform in the positive sense, but on the negative side, it can be possessive, controlling, can bring mass destruction. So this can be read as controlling the population through maybe AI, artificial intelligence, cars. You restrict movement using the electric cars. Establishing universal income because robots are going to take your jobs away. Anybody whose jobs can be automated is at a risk of, not having a job. So what are the jobs that are going to be in demand? IT, obviously, delivery, delivering stuff because that's Gemini. Anything with your hands, like AC techs or mechanics or massage therapists or physical therapists, anything that you do with your hands is a good job to go into because it's ruled by Gemini. Now, overall, there will be a decrease in the births because Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, which rules the 8th house in a natural chart. So Aquarius is not a fertile sign. Therefore, there will be a decrease in the number of children that are born. And then at the same time, the number of deaths are going to go up because of the increased use of euthanasia for people who are terminally ill, and that kind of debate. So and obviously war. There's no quicker way to die than to have a war. Now, this is a 20-year transit, so it's going to happen slowly. It's not going to happen from one day to the next. When, and I don't know if the video is still up, but Nicola did a video with Lada from Astrolada. And when she asked him about Pluto in Aquarius, he said that it was basically war on mankind or something to that effect, right? It was a declaration of war on mankind. And then she asked him, well, who's going to win? And then he said, at the end, mankind wins, but it's not going to be easy. So we're in for, a little bit of a rough time. And so I'm sure that you guys have heard the one world government, right? So what does this really mean? It means when this Neptune Saturn cycle happens, Pluto in Aquarius, it can mean communism, socialism. So people are not going to be aware of this. They think that communism or socialism is very good, but in reality, my personal opinion is that it's not. I am Cuban. I was born on the island and I came to the United States when I was 3 months old. So firsthand, I can tell you what the textbooks don't tell you. My family came over, escaping communism. And how does communism succeed, right? The first thing they do is that they separate the children from the parents. So they start to control your children and they start to turn them against the family because then the children belong to the state. The second thing they do is that they control your food supply. They take away your weapons. And when I say control food supply is because you're given, what happened in Cuba was is that you were given like a passport, like a little book that said, okay, you're entitled to 5 pounds of rice a month. You're entitled to a pound of meat a month. X number of pounds of beans and sugar and blah, 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 right? But it wasn't enough for you to eat. So what happened? You had to go get on the black market. You had to buy extra stuff for you to feed your family. So if you got caught with more than your allotted food, you went to jail. It's that easy because they control everything. Like I said, they take away your weapons. They say that they are only going to target the rich. But guess what? That scale keeps going down, 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 and then eventually nobody owns anything and everything belongs to the state. Um, they control you with fear. You can get arrested. Actually, we had family members. Well, my mom had family members that ended up in jail for that, for exactly that, for buying food. And that is not a good system. If it was a great system, why would they not allow people to leave the country? Because I think most of America doesn't realize how many people die crossing the ocean to get to the United States or crossing Mexico to, the Mexico-Texas border, or, and now even the Canadian, even the North border. So if you have communism that's so great, and it's communism and socialism are interchangeable for most people, but they're not. Communism is not good, in my personal opinion. I'm giving you a personal story so that these things are not discussed in the history books, but we experienced it firsthand. So I just wanted you guys to know so that you get it firsthand. Look at what has happened in Nicaragua, not only Cuba, like Nicaragua, Venezuela, just recently. Venezuela was a rich country with all that petroleum, and it has gone down the tubes. People ate the animals from the zoo because they didn't have any food. That shows that, things are worse. Not that I'm condoning the dictatorship that they had, but things have not gotten better for Venezuela. And then everybody from the Latin American countries, from Central and South America, end up in South Florida. So we have a community of Colombians, Venezuelans, Nicaraguans, Honduras, Ecuador, everybody just decides to come here. So they don't spread the news to other states in this wonderful country that we call the United States. So anyway, I don't want to keep boring you with anecdotes, but it's real. So they lie. They lie, and it's just to convince you that it's the greatest thing. And the per capita, the country with the most millionaires is China. Go figure. Anyhow, I will be doing a video on each of the signs. And as always, if you liked the video, if you've learned something from it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and send it to somebody that this information may help. Um, and if you want a chart reading, a natal chart reading with me, please send me an email to amaastrology@aol.com. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.